morning, everyone. Welcome to our CSCB coffee hour this morning. Today, we are joined by Abbey Grey, who is the Executive Director for the Colorado Association of Conservation Districts. And with fall watershed meetings right around the corner, it's just super helpful to have a refresher of the resolution process, what resolutions are, and why they are important. And so with that said, she'll also be covering all the CACD award categories and how to nominate folks for those. And so if you have any questions throughout the coffee hour, feel free to drop them in the chat or save them for the end, because we will also save time to have a Q&A. And so with that said, I will turn it over to you, Abby.
All right. Thank you, Kayla. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us this morning. It's that exciting time of year where we start to talk about resolutions and nominations for CACD awards. So I'm just going to go through, for those of you who are not familiar with the resolution process or the award nomination process, I'm going to go through some of the information behind why they're so important. So for those of you who are well versed in that, I apologize. It may be a little bit redundant. But bear with me and feel free at any point in time to drop questions into the chat. Kayla's going to help me monitor that, and we'll stop and answer those as we go. If I don't have an answer for you, I will get back to you. I'll go do some research and get you an answer. So without further ado, we'll just move forward. So the thing I want to start with is the mission statement behind CACD. And the reason for that is you'll see very quickly reading through this that resolutions play a huge role in the mission of the Colorado Association of Conservation Districts. So the mission of CACD is to serve as a unified voice for the conservation districts of Colorado, facilitating outreach, education, and support of landowners in their stewardship of natural resources. So the resolutions give us a basis on the work that we do and what we're focusing on, what we're supporting throughout the state of Colorado, what's important to the conservation districts and the landowners throughout the state. The awards give us the opportunity to recognize landowners, conservation districts, partners who are doing that work very well throughout the year and be able to bring that to light and celebrate them. So how does it work? Resolutions and awards start with you. So the resolutions and awards come through the 10 watershed associations throughout the state. You guys are responsible for nominating awardees and for coming forth with resolutions that you would like to see pushed through the state, whether that be something related to the legislator or something related to work on the ground that you would like to see supported throughout the year. We're going to go through a few things in this presentation as far as what is a resolution. We're going to define that and the award categories and kind of the process to bringing those forward to CACD at the end of the year. So the most important question, I think, off the bat is, what is a resolution? How do we define that? The piece of this I'm going to focus on is the second bullet point, which says, in the context of a legislative practice, resolution is a form, sorry, I have to move some things, in which a legislative body expresses an opinion or a purpose with respect to a given matter or topic that is temporary in nature. So this can be the adoption of a motion, the subject matter of which does not constitute a statute. So that's a little bit of a formal definition of what a resolution is, but essentially what a resolution is to bring forth a formal statement of opinion or a decision to take action on. So what would you like to see as the center or the focal point of CACD's actions in the future, or a specific action item that needs to be addressed in a temporary state? So something that needs initial action, but then kind of we fall back and we don't move forward with any additional action items, that type of thing. After we define what a resolution is in the general aspect, we need to look at the difference between a policy resolution and an action resolution. So this is where we have two separate things. A policy is a deliberate system of guidelines to guide decisions and achieve rational outcomes. So a policy is something that is long-term. It is a defining principle, for lack of better words, of action items. So it's kind of the why behind what you're doing action-wise, and making sure that you have that check and balance system for the things that you do throughout the year, whether that be support policy, move forward with a grant or a program, or provide support to someone else's grant or program in a partnership type of situation. So policy is those guiding principles, those big picture ideas in which we can check and make sure, yes, we are moving forward with this, with the idea of our governing body, which is the watersheds and the conservation districts throughout the state. So when we're looking at helping with a partnership or applying for a grant or moving forward with support or a lack of support for a legislative item, we're relying on those policy items to tell us whether or not that's in line with the core values of CACD. An action item is a documented event, task, or activity or action that needs to take place. So this is more of a temporary policy, something that needs to happen where CACD needs to take action on something, but then there's a resolution behind that in terms of like there's an end date to the action items. Once that action has been taken, then they kind of fade away. They don't become a part of our guiding principles, if that makes sense. They're a little bit different when you guys are looking at proposing resolutions at your watershed level. You're going to want to ask yourself this question. This is really important. Are you pushing it forward as a policy item, or are you pushing it forward as an action item? I'm not going to read through too much on this because we're going to go through the important dates moving forward, but I wanted to include it in the presentation so that you guys have access to it later to read through. It's also on our website, but this is just kind of an overview of the resolution process and some suggestions on how you guys go about bringing those forward within your watersheds. There's also a link if you click on the picture. I'm not sure if you guys, can you guys see the association's process handbook? Did that come up for everybody?
Yes, it did.
Okay, perfect. This is also on our website, but this is an overview of the resolution process, and it kind of answers some of the more frequently asked questions, gives you guys guidance on how to bring these forward at your watershed levels, and gives you some definitions of the subcommittees that you are going to be seeing in November. The subcommittees review the resolutions. So once a district brings forward a resolution to the watershed, it is voted on and approved. That watershed will submit it to CACD. CACD will do an initial review through our board of directors, and then we will give you guys back an edited, if edits are needed, an edited version of your resolution. That edited version, you guys are allowed to go back through and make sure that you agree with. If you're in agreement with that, you'll resubmit it to CACD, and that final resolution is what is presented at our resource committees in November. The resource committees are consisted of our board of directors as well as representatives from the conservation district membership to CACD, and those are voted through. And that's kind of the process on how they get into our official policy book, where we move forward with those action items or we bring those policies into our core values. It also gives a timeline. I'm going to go through that more specifically later, so I'm not going to bring too much about that, but feel free to read through these things. And if you have any questions at any point in time, feel free to reach out to me. We'll go back to our presentation. Oop, clicked on the wrong part there. Okay, so deadlines. What timeline are we looking for? With the resolution process, we suggest giving your watershed a 2-week notice prior to your fall meetings of any submitted proposals for resolutions by conservation districts. So typically the conservation districts bring forth a resolution to the watershed level. The watershed then votes to approve or not approve that resolution, and then it moves on to CACD and the resource committees at that point in time. We suggest that timeline. So we say fall watershed meetings typically happen in September. Sometimes they dip into August. So making sure that those are submitted to your watersheds no later than September 1st. That's not a hard deadline. That's a soft deadline. That's a suggestion from CACD, but making sure that you give your watersheds plenty of time to review your resolutions before they are in a situation to vote on them. Then we go into more of the hard deadlines. So October 1st is the hard deadline for submission of resolutions from the watersheds to CACD. So you'll want to make sure that you plan your fall watershed meetings prior to October 1st, so you have time to approve your resolutions and have an official vote on them before the deadline to submit to CACD. You'll email those resolutions over to us. And then, like I mentioned before, our board of directors will review those resolutions and send back recommendations to the watersheds by October 15th. That gives you guys some time at the watershed level to review any edits that CACD has on your resolutions and resubmit your final draft. And those final drafts are due November 1st. Oh, it looks like we have a chat. Nancy, I will get some clarification for you on that meeting is September 29th. So you guys theoretically should be able to meet the deadline of October 1st for your submission of your resolutions. And I can touch base with you if there's any questions about that. And then the next slide here is the resolution form. So you can find these on our website as well. If you scroll down to this section here, we have all the resource committee meetings, last year's minutes posted for you guys. And then down here at the bottom, we have our 2023 CACD resolution form. So I'll open this up. And this one downloaded, so I might have to, can you guys see my screen still? Yes, okay. This is what the 2023 CACD resolution form looks like. There's some directions here, again, some reiteration of those important dates. And then the form itself is fillable down here, and you'll want to fill all these things out. If as you're filling things out, you guys have any questions for me, again, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to answer those.
And at least on my end, the screen was still a little funky, but we'll be sending out follow-up links too, so you could access these.
Yes, yep. And I'll make sure that those get out to all of you guys. And they are all, again, up on our CACD website at the moment. All right. So are there any questions about the resolution process?
I don't see any in the chat.
Okay, we'll move into the fun part, the awards. Again, the awards are up on our website. You'll go to that same page as before. This is a direct link. I'll make sure Kayla has the direct links for everybody. But this is what you'll see when you go to look at the award nomination forms. They are also due by October 1st. There is the nomination form itself, and then some descriptors about the different categories for that award program. The awards are also voted on at the watershed level, so you'll want to make sure that any nominations you have as a district for the award categories you present to your watershed. Again, we suggest 2 weeks in advance of your watershed meeting so that folks have a chance to look through everything and be able to form a strong opinion when it comes time to vote. And then you guys will submit those award nominations via email to CACD as well. The difference is we won't be doing any editing of your award nominees. We'll just take those nominations. We'll work with you to get all of the fun photos and background stories and things like that so that we have those when it comes time to voting. Here are the fun categories that we have for the CACD awards. So we have District of the Year, Educator of the Year, CACD Hall of Fame. We have a Supervisor of the Year. We have several categories under Conservationist of the Year, including Farmer Rancher of the Year, Small Acreage of the Year. All of those descriptors can be found on the CACD website. We also have an Education Program of the Year. So there's a lot of really great categories. We really value this program and really want to see the watersheds bring forth some strong nominations. If you guys have any questions about how that process works outside of what I explained today, I am always available for questions and helping you guys through that process. Again, deadlines, we suggest that 2 weeks prior to your fall watershed meeting. And then there's the hard deadline for submission to CACD of October 1st. Again, there's no editing process. There won't be the back and forth that there is with the resolution process. And then I just have some date reminders for you guys. The resource committee meetings are scheduled this year, November 13th through the 17th at 6:30 p.m. each day. We'll host one resource committee a day, and we'll be going through those resolutions, giving everyone the opportunity to have a voice in that. and discuss them, and then that resource committee will be voting. And then the annual meeting this year is scheduled for December 4th and 5th at the Marriott in Colorado Springs. You guys will be seeing a lot more information about that coming out in the next couple of weeks. And I just wanted to open it up to other questions. I think there are some in the chat. So Penny asked, do the award nominations need to be presented at our watershed meetings also? Yes, Penny, they do. They do need to be voted through your watershed. And then it looks like we have some suggestions to look through the form. I am open. If you guys have any specific changes you'd like to see to nomination forms, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to take those to the board and discuss changing things. If that's what's best for the conservation districts, that makes them easiest. The award nominations this year, we changed over from a fillable PDF to an online jot form. To try to make it a little bit simpler for you guys. So you can upload directly to that all of your pictures, any articles you have, anything like that. So any feedback on that, whether that made that process easier or more challenging, I'm open to hearing that as well. So.
Abby, I haven't gone through, clicked on any of that yet. I just know in the past on the form, it asked for phone number, and it was a little bit unclear if it was you want my phone number or do you want the awardee, the nominators, person we're nominating, you want their information. So maybe that's cleared up in the job form.
I will take a second look at it, Vanessa, and make sure that we made that very clear. I appreciate that feedback.
Okay, thanks.
Of course. Were there any other questions for me about the nomination process for awardees or resolutions? I know I went through that rather quickly.
So those forms then are going to get funneled through the watershed first?
So yeah, so you will want to take your nominations for awardees to your watershed to vote. Once the awardee's been voted as your watershed's nomination, you'll go fill out the jot form. You don't want to fill out the jot form with what your district is bringing to the watershed. And I appreciate that question.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Go straight to you. Skip the watershed.
Yes, no, we don't want to be doing that. I'll be monitoring it. So if that happens, I'll reach out to you and just make sure that you get your information back so you can go to your watershed first. But there should be just nominations from the watershed submitted through the jot form for awards. And then you'll want to fill out the resolutions. We've left as a fillable form for that reason. It's a lot easier to have something tangible at your watershed meeting for that versus the awardees is usually, from experience at the watersheds, is a little bit more of a informal process of bringing forth. Most people know who you're talking about. You bring forth a little article that the district wrote as to why they think that person should be nominated. If you guys would like to have a tangible fillable form for your watershed meetings, let me know. I can always post that to the website as well. In fact, I think there might be a version of that, but I can double check that and make sure it's available to you.
It might be nice to have a template of sorts. So everybody who's nominating through the watershed is giving the same sort of information. I don't know. We haven't done this formally since I've been around. So maybe it's just less formal is fine.
I will put one up there, Vanessa, so it's available to you guys and you guys are open to do that however fits your watershed needs best. I appreciate that feedback.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see, there were a couple more chats that came in. Does the resolution doc have information on the emergency resolutions? That's an excellent question, Fianna. I will have to get back to you on that one. I'm not as familiar with that process, so I will look through things and make sure that that's very clear on our website. And I will get that information to Kayla to make sure it gets dispersed to this entire group. Thank you. That's a great question.
And Abby, I had a quick question too for clarification. When after the watershed level kind of votes on a resolution and they say, yep, this is what we want to send to CACD by that October 1st deadline. If CACD has edits or recommendations, changes, and it comes back to the watershed, does the watershed then again have to formally vote on those edits? Or how does that work? Or can it just be kind of a vote by email kind of thing? Because that's insight into that process if it does arise.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Kayla, and I have half an answer for you, so I apologize for that. But yeah, the watershed will have to vote to accept the edits from CACD in order to resubmit by the November 1st deadline. I'm not sure. I'd have to check into the logistics as to whether or not that can be an email vote or if that has to be an official board vote or if that can be an executive committee vote. I'm not sure. So let me look more into that and I will get you specifics on exactly what that vote can look like. Thank you. That's a good question as well.
Yeah, well, and even if it's, I mean, just setting up like a quick Zoom for folks to jump on to, that's something that we could help out with for CSCB to like coordinate that kind of stuff. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. Are there any other questions? All right, so it's clear as mud, the resolution process and the award nomination process for everybody.
Well, and always, I'm sure many of you have Abby's email, but we'll be sure to like share that contact information as well. And the links for the forms. And Abby said that we can share this presentation too. So as soon as we get this up on the website, we'll be sending up a follow-up email with all of that good information as well.
Thank you, Kayla. Yep. And I will make sure that all of the links to the individual pages and forms are up there as well as those guidelines so that they're easily accessible. The links in this presentation will function once it's printed as a PDF and sent to you. So you're welcome to utilize those as well. And like Kayla said, you'll have my contact information. So any specific questions or concerns that you have, I am happy to address those with you and help you through the process.
Awesome. Thanks, Abby. Other questions while we have Abby with us today? And just a plug for the Watershed Association meetings, be sure to let your regional field specialists know those dates, like work closely with us. We're here as a tool. And so just let us know those dates and we could get that up on our CSCB calendar. A lot of partners use that for reference and it's just a good way to coordinate and share that information. So be sure to share those watershed dates with your CSCB regional field specialists. And just a plug for our next coffee hour, and mull over if you have some more questions for Abby. But our next coffee hour is going to be next Wednesday, August 2nd at 9 a.m. And we're going to have the president from the Colorado Conservation District's Employees Association with us. And she's going to be going over the 2023 leadership program. And so definitely not one you're going to want to miss. And they'll be going over all the other good things that they have going on as well with CCDEA. So that's next week's coffee hour. But last call for questions for Abby. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, Abby. We so appreciate it. And thank you all for taking time out of your day to join us. And hopefully we will see you next week.